The mask you're wearing, is it heavy? The mask of the strong one, of the one who always has the answers, the one whose smile never quite reaches their eyes, the mask of the one who always says, "I'm fine." How long have you been wearing it? A year? 10 years? Or has it been for so much of your life that you've forgotten what your own face even looks like underneath? You sought out this video. You sought me out because you heard a promise, a sweet whisper in this loud world, the promise that you could become invincible, that nothing and nobody could ever hurt you again. It's a beautiful promise, and it is built on a lie. I am not here to sell you comfortable illusions. I am here to tell you a truth. The truth is, you will get hurt. You will continue to bleed. Every day, the world will test you, looking for the cracks in your armor. And true strength, the invincibility you seek, it doesn't come from building a higher, thicker wall. It doesn't come from running away or growing numb. It comes from learning how to stand, even as you are breaking apart on the inside. It comes from learning how to stand, even as you are breaking apart on the inside. But how? How do you stand when the slightest word can feel like a physical blow? How do you remain upright when a single look of disapproval can shatter your foundations? Think about it. Why does a casual, critical comment from a coworker have the power to ruin your entire day? Why does the silence of a loved one, that text message left unanswered, spiral into a full-blown crisis of self-doubt in your mind? Why does seeing someone else's success on a screen make you feel like a failure in your own skin? We believe these people, these external events, are the architects of our pain. We point the finger and say, "You did this to me." And now, here is the brutal, liberating truth you need to hear. They are not doing anything to you. They are simply the mailman, delivering a package that has been sitting in your name, in your internal warehouse, for a very, very long time. They don't know what's in the package. They just ring the bell. You are the one who signs for it. You are the one who opens it. And what's inside? What is in this package they keep delivering over and over again? It's the ghost of a past failure you never forgave yourself for. It's the echo of a critical parent's voice, now internalized as your own. It's the festering wound from a betrayal you swore you were over, but never truly healed. It's the lines of distorted code running deep in your psyche, lines that whisper, "I am not good enough. I am not worthy of love. I will eventually be abandoned." So you see, that person who hurt you today, they didn't bring the poison. The poison was already in the cup. They just bumped the table. The true battlefield is not out there in the world of arguments and slights and betrayals. It's in here, and in this inner world, we are not alone. And most terrifyingly, for most of our lives, we are not the one in charge. Have you ever snapped in anger over something trivial, and a moment later, in the quiet shame, you've asked yourself, who was that? Have you ever felt a wave of profound sadness wash over you on a perfectly good day? Or been paralyzed by a sudden, nameless fear that makes no logical sense? You feel like a puppet and you can't see the strings. You act, you react, you feel, and you have no idea why. There is a master cartographer of this inner world, the psychologist Carl Jung, who gave us the map. And he issued a stark warning. He said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Read that again in your mind. It will direct your life and you will call it fate. The bad relationships, the self-sabotage, the career that goes nowhere, the recurring bad luck, you call it fate. Jung calls it ignorance. To understand what he means, I want you to perform a thought experiment with me. Imagine your entire consciousness, your very being, is a vast and bottomless ocean. The sunlit surface, the first few feet of sparkling clear water. That is your conscious mind. It's your ego. It's the part of you that is watching this video, the part that makes lists and sets goals and introduces itself at parties. It's the captain of a tiny boat, bobbing on the surface, believing it controls the entire ocean because it can choose to turn left or right. but 95% of who you are is the rest of the ocean. The dark, silent, crushing deep. The abyss. And what's down there, in the unconscious deep? Everything you've ever forgotten, or repressed, or refused to look at. It's down there. Forgotten memories drift like ancient shipwrecks on the seafloor. Repressed desires glow like strange, bioluminescent creatures in the dark. And in the deepest trenches swim the great leviathans, the archetypes. The ancient, powerful patterns of the human psyche that have been moving in these waters for millennia, long before you were born. You, the tiny captain on the surface, may think you are in control. But a storm in the abyss doesn't stay in the abyss. It creates the tidal wave of anxiety that swamps your deck for no apparent reason. A deep current shift you're not aware of is what pulls you, inexplicably, towards a person or a situation you know is a rocky shore. And the emotions you feel? Your sudden anger, your deep sadness, your gnawing anxiety? They are not system errors. They are not flaws in your character. They are signals from the deep. Your anger is a flare, shot up from the abyss, signaling that a critical boundary has been crossed. Your sadness is a pressure change, telling you that you have descended into a place of loss that must be grieved. Your anxiety is the sonar of your soul, pinging wildly in the dark, desperately warning you of a collision with something you refuse to see. To stop being a victim of this vast inner ocean, you must stop calling it fate. You must stop ignoring its signals. First, you must learn its language. To learn its language. But you cannot navigate an abyss without a source of light and a compass. It is a journey into darkness, but you are not meant to go in blind. Fortunately, Carl Jung did not just give us a map of this inner world. He gave us the tools to explore it. He forged the very keys to the dungeons we have built for ourselves. For this first part of the journey, 3 of these tools are essential. This is your survival kit for the descent. The first tool is the courage to meet your own shadow. Before you can understand it, you must first see it. So let me ask you, what is it in other people that you cannot stand? That you judge most harshly? Is it their arrogance, their weakness, their laziness, their neediness? Take a moment. Bring a person to mind who irritates you beyond all reason. Now, here is the first great, terrible secret of this work. That which you find most insufferable, most infuriating, most contemptible in others is very often a disowned, exiled part of yourself. This is your shadow. It is the sack into which you have stuffed every aspect of yourself that you deemed unacceptable to your family, your culture, or your own ego. Your rage, your vulnerability, your envy, your lust, your ambition, every unacceptable impulse. You took these vital parts of your humanity, declared them ugly, locked them in the basement of your psyche, and tried to starve them into silence. But they do not die. They do not disappear. Down in the dark, they fester, they merge. They mutate into something monstrous, and a starving creature is a desperate creature. It rattles the cage of your subconscious. It projects itself onto the people around you, so you see your own disowned weakness or arrogance in them and despise them for it. It waits for your moment of weakness, a moment of stress, a moment of intoxication, and it bursts free. That sudden, shocking outburst of rage, that inexplicable act of self-sabotage, that cruel comment that you immediately regret, that is the shadow, breaking its chains for a moment of air. The work is not to kill it. You cannot kill a part of yourself without killing your own vitality. The work is to turn around, walk to the basement door, unlock it, and go down the stairs. It is to sit with this starving creature and invite it to dinner. You must look it in the eye and ask, what is it that you have been trying to tell me all this time? Because Jung also taught us that the gold is always hidden in the darkness. Your greatest strength, your most profound creativity, is often chained to the very thing you are most ashamed of. Once you begin this dialogue with the shadow, you will soon realize there are other figures in the darkness. The most powerful of these is your contrary sexual archetype. The second tool is learning to see it. For a man, this is the Anima, the unconscious, inner feminine. For a woman, this is the Animus, the unconscious, inner masculine. It is your soul image. It's the innate internal blueprint of the other half you feel you are missing, the half that would make you feel whole. And because it is unconscious, you do not experience it within yourself. You experience it out there. Have you ever fallen in love at first sight? A blinding, all-consuming, world-altering infatuation? Have you ever felt an immediate, irrational, and intense hatred for someone you just met? Chances are, you were not seeing them at all. You were seeing your own soul projected onto them like a film on a blank screen. You project this divine, perfect image of your anima or animus onto a real, flawed human being, and then you demand that they live up to your unconscious fantasy. This is the source of our most intoxicating romances and our most devastating heartbreaks. We are not in love with a person. We are in love with a missing part of ourselves. The great work here is to withdraw that projection, to painstakingly reel that film back into the camera of your own psyche. It is the work of realizing that the compassion, the wisdom, the strength, the creativity you desperately seek in a partner is actually a force living within your own soul, waiting to be born. Only when you have brought it home can you see other people for who they truly are. And only then can you become whole, with or without them. So, we have the map. We have identified the primary figures in the abyss, but how do we actually speak to them? This brings us to the third tool, the most practical and most profound. It is the technique Jung called active imagination. I must be clear, this is not daydreaming. Daydreaming is a passive fantasy. Your ego is in charge, and you are simply a passenger enjoying the ride. Active imagination is a conscious, deliberate, and often difficult dialogue. You are an explorer, actively engaging with the terra incognita of your mind. This is how you practice it. First, you find a quiet space, free from distraction. You close your eyes, and you allow a mood or an emotion to surface. Don't force it, let it come. Let's say it's that familiar knot of anxiety in your stomach. Second, instead of pushing it away as you normally would, you turn your full attention toward it. You give it your focus, and you let your imagination give it a form, a shape. Does it look like something? A snarling dog? A frightened child? A pulsating dark energy? A stone? It doesn't have to make logical sense. Trust the first image that appears. Third, once you have the image held clearly in your mind, you speak to it out loud, or in the theater of your mind. You ask it a simple, direct question. What do you want? Or why are you here? And fourth, and this is the most critical step you get out of the way. You quiet your ego. You listen. You allow the figure to answer without judging or analyzing its response. It might speak in words. It might change its shape. It might show you another image. Your only job is to witness it, to receive the communication with respect. You are building a bridge from the tiny sunlit island of your conscious ego to the vast, mysterious continent of your unconscious. This is the great work. This is how you make the unconscious conscious. This is how you turn fate back into choice. To turn fate into choice. It sounds like freedom, doesn't it? It sounds like power, and it is. But I would be lying to you if I sold you this promise without telling you the price. I am not a merchant of comfort. I am a guide, and a guide must be honest about the terrain ahead. The path from being a puppet of fate to the master of your own soul is not a gentle stroll through a sunlit garden. It is a trial by fire. This process we have spoken of, this journey into the deep, will be painful. It will be painful in a way that no physical injury can touch. It is the pain of disillusionment, which is the most terrifying and necessary pain of all. It is the slow, agonizing work of performing heart surgery on yourself without anesthesia. because you must be awake to see what is being removed. You will have to look at your own reflection and admit to the ugliness you see there. You will have to feel the agony of realizing that a great love of your life was, in large part, a projection, a ghost you created and then mourned when it vanished. You will have to accept your own capacity for cruelty, for selfishness, for the very things you have judged so harshly in others. This is the integration of the shadow, and it burns. To become who you are meant to be, you must be willing to let the person you think you are die. The good person, who would never have such dark thoughts, that person must die. The victim, whose story of being wronged has given you so much righteous comfort, that person must die.